This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm our host, Jason Glick.
How are you doing, Jason Glick?
I'm doing just fine, John. And yourself?
Oh, not half bad. What do you have on the skillet for us tonight, Mr. Chef Supreme?
Well, as the name title of the podcast indicates, this is my best of 2014 podcast, and I gotta admit, thinking about what was the best comics I read last year. When I started first spat out all the titles that I felt qualified, I only came up with about 7. So then I had to go through the backlogs of the blog and the podcast and start thinking about, well, what else really gripped me over this year. And there's lots of good stuff that was I thought was good, but also had some kind of okay. Oh, but then there was this that held me back from giving it full on best of status. And so I'll admit this year was a little bit harder to catch up to come up with a top 10 list. But that's not to say there weren't lots of great titles out there. It's just that there was also that those few that like the special something that gets them on this list, for lack of a better term. Because we all know how technical something is as these terms go. Anyway, enough with the rambling. On with the list. Starting off at number 10, and this list actually has more Marvel titles than in past years. And at the bottom of the list comes Infinity, written by Jonathan Hickman, illustrated by a host of very talented artists, including Leinil Yu, Stefano Caselli, Jim Chung, Dustin Weaver, Jerome Pena. It's basically one of the next step in Hickman's massive Avengers story, which I'm very much looking forward to seeing how it wraps up in 2015 with Secret Wars, as it turns out. But Infinity is on one hand it's a story about Thanos making his latest bid to take over Earth, but also to find and kill the son that he never knew he had, and also for the builders, the very first galactic race that has basically been wiping out and conquering all the other races in the cosmos on a beeline to Earth. So it's a big, gigantic space opera, and it is probably the best Marvel event in years. Because some have been entertaining it on their own terms, like say World War Hulk. Others, like say Avengers vs. X-Men, have kind of suffered from too many cooks in the kitchen. Infinity works because not only because Hickman had a huge canvas to work with. Not only did he did he have 4 issues of Avengers to set things up, but also he also had its sister title New Avengers to tell the stories of what the Illuminati was doing at the time, and also to fill in the blanks of the main crossover with Avengers. With Avengers proper. It's overall, it's it shows that hey, if we're going to do these big crossovers, it's best to just have the guy who's writing and just give them as much space as possible. I mean, I don't know. I'm reminded of how Blackest Night, which was also the best DC event in recent memory, still. Jeff Johns had that title, had the main miniseries, and then also the Green Lantern title fill in the blanks between issues. So Infinity makes a great case for just giving having one writer be the sole architect of a crossover, and B, giving him as much space, him or her, as much space as possible in order to pull off said crossover. It's not perfect. There's still some continuity issues, and it's in dramatic niggles over the end. But it's if all big superhero events were as good as Infinity, then we wouldn't be bitching about them. It's as they come along. Anyway, next up at number 9 is another Marvel title, Thor: God of Thunder. Now, everyone knows that Walt Simonson's run on Thor is the definitive run for that title, and after that, there's not a whole heck of a lot with the character that anyone paid attention to until say he was relaunched by J. Michael Straczynski, then had a extended filler run by Kieran Gillen, which was actually pretty good considering the fact that he wasn't the proper Thor writer at the time. He was just called on to mark time until Matt Fraction took over, and Fraction was kind of crap. But then Jason Aaron comes along and gives us a story of not one but three different Thors. Young Thor back in the back in the 11th century, modern day Thor, and an old Thor who is basically at the minding over the last days of Asgard and Midgard as well. There's these first. This is specifically for the first two volumes, which is basically the saga of the God Butcher, Gore. It's a very it's not a very subtle run, as the name of the God Butcher implies, but it does show that Aaron has knows how to tell an epic cross-generational story, and has a great handle on Thor, whatever era he is working in. And when he brings all three of them together in the second volume to take on Gore and his gigantic God bomb, it is truly something to behold. It is a series that that does have a great epic heft to it, and it got me immersed in several parts that I wasn't expecting to. Plus, even though I will always complain about how artist Asad Rabik tends to have annoying gape faces in his art at times, there's no doubt that he turns into some spectacular poster-worthy art over the course of his run, particularly the very end. This is when Thor gets hold of Gore's weapon, and it's a really insanely badass visual right there when he finally gives Gore what's coming to him. It's volume 3, which I'll be talking, I believe I'm talking about this on Monday right now, but by the time this goes up on Wednesday, I may have already written about volume 3. Isn't quite as good as these two, but it's still. But these first two volumes show that Aaron is a great writer for the character. I look forward to seeing whatever else he does with the character after this. Next up, because it seems that if there's one DC hero that I'm going to keep talking about on these lists, it's going to be Batman, because at number 8 is Batman Zero Year, which is basically volumes 4 and 5 of the Scott Snyder Greg Capullo run. Now, back when this run was announced that it was going to focus on Batman's first year as Batman, everyone's kind of like, well, wait, you're writing Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli's year one out of continuity? Oh man, you bastards! It's not to say now that's also goes with the fact that all just about every Batman story has been written out of continuity with the New 52, but I still like to pretend that stuff did happen and all, because it's like you don't want to throw out everything that was good about the character in these defining stories. And the fact that I've liked Snyder and Capullo's run so far, the fact that we're taking on one of the absolute greatest Batman stories of all time, that seems like a recipe for disaster right there. But Snyder, to their credit, they realize you don't attack the story on the same level. I mean, Zero Year, it's had the clever conceit of starting with the fact that Bruce Wayne came back to Gotham after training to be to fight crime, and then realizing that, hey, I'm not going to be Bruce Wayne anymore. I'm going to just fight. I'm just going to wage my one man war on crime as one guy. And just be a nameless a nameless crusader in the face of justice. So it's kind of cool that that we have Bruce Wayne going in this direction, and then of course he realizes that that he's going to need help. He's going to need people like Alfred, like Lucius Fox, all the other citizens and the other citizens of Gotham themselves. Oh, and Jim Gordon, of course, in order to make sure this war actually has a chance of succeeding at some point. And also, the series is actually a great Riddler story as well, because I don't know if there are really any Riddler stories that really qualify as great. That people say this is the one you read in order to understand the Riddler, but this one definitely qualifies as Edward Nygma is basically the mastermind of everything that happens here, and he's solely he's surely pulling the strings behind every little bit of the story. And while he's ahead of the curve for a good portion of the story, as is always the case, there's a Bruce Wayne and his friends, pull off a great upset by showing hey, you may be ahead of the game like up to this point, but not anymore. So overall, Zero Year, it's like even though it's like I said, it's basically replacing Year One in continuity. It succeeds in the sense that it's a great story on its own, and it doesn't try to retread like the ground that Miller and Mazzucchelli did years before. Okay, next up though is something that couldn't be more at odds with that sentiment, and that's number 7, The Superior Foes of Spider-Man. Now, this is a story about Spider-Man's D-list villains. We're all from the A-list. Got the Green Goblin, Doctor Octopus, and all those other guys I can't be bothered to remember right now. But then what about guys like Boomerang, the Shocker, Beetle, Overdrive, the guy who can turn models into actual full-fledged vehicles. Those guys. What makes them tick and all? Well, writer Nick Spencer and artist Steve Lieber basically shows that while these guys they aren't content to just settle for their D-list standards as they have it. They've got ambitions of their own. They want to beat Spider-Man. They want to become Lord of New York. They want to be rolling in and all the women and money they want. But they just don't have their act together at all. And Nick Spencer, to his credit, does a great job of showing that these assholes, they're horrible people, but it's that inner assholishness that it's like the fact that they just can't seem to work together or rise above their failings that keeps them at the D list and keeps them floundering when other villains almost succeed in taking down the hero and getting what they want. These guys will be forever at the bottom of the list. And it's also one of the funniest titles I've read. I've read this year. The humor is kind of hard to work in comics, but Spencer and Lieber really pulled it off here. The final volume is due out next year, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they wrap things up right there. Okay, next up, number 6 is a title that I actually haven't written about yet, and I just finally got in my hands about a week ago. That is Sunstone by Stepan Sejic. And while I'm big into just about everything that Image does, and I'm kind of surprised that more of their titles didn't wind up on my list. But the fact what makes Sunstone unique. Sunstone is unique in a couple of ways. I mean, it comes from Image's Top Cow imprint, which is the imprint founded by Mark Silvestri with this Cyberforce and Witchblade stuff over the years. And I could not give a shit about all this superhero stuff that has come out from that title over the years. Well, okay, maybe the exception of Rising Stars and Wanted, but most of the stuff that comes out from Top Cow can just be safely ignored. Sunstone, however, is an outlier. It's even in the industry itself, because it is a series about it is an erotic series about two women, one who's a budding dominatrix, one who's a submissive, and how they find each other online and come together and basically find a way to scratch each other's sexual itches. There is lots of sex. There's plenty of full frontal nudity in here as well. But the series is all about just getting into their mindsets and how they get how each surrenders to why each other's particular kink works for them. It's that rare series that is actually gets into their heads, gets into its characters' heads about sex, and doesn't really pander or objectify their their desires. I mean, there's a great moment when let's see, when the narrator of the story talks about how like, wait, don't run away. The series has lots of kinky like lesbian BDSM sex, and also how it's like how how we're all pervy in our own way. I liked how the series that really just like came off as like really not judgmental and just not didn't go for like cheap dramatic dramatic stunts, like having like one of the characters jaws being endangered by their sexual proclivities and all. It's like, I mean, there is some element to that, but it's not a driving force. I mean, it's all about these two characters just discovering each other. It's like and clicking in their own way, and it's also pretty funny too. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what comes in future volumes, and also what pushes this volume over the top for me is that instead of just having just like a bunch of random art stuff at the back of the volume, Sedgwick also talks about the process for creating the series and his narrative in the back of the volume. I definitely love to see more of that stuff. It's like in like in comics, like in the back matter for comics, period. But well, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, next up is the other Image comics on the list, and I tend to I want to keep these series this list geared more towards like series that like surprise me or just like make great debut or make a great finish over the years, because if I didn't, then you'd just be hearing me talk about just how great say The Walking Dead, Fables, what else? A Real, Oku. It's like all the other ongoing series are, and it just be nothing but and Blade of the Immortal, of course. How the fuck can I forget that? Because it's like Blade Immortal's like already a lock for next year, because after all that's done over the years, it's going to have to be work. That final volume is going to have to actually work in order to get me to not consider the series for best of 2015 as it is. Anyway, as I was saying, actually, like I said, I want to talk about the series that like surprised me, and burn brightly and just make that much of an impression on myself. So I tend to like shy away from the series that I'm reading, like, because hey, just it doesn't take any effort to just say this series still good, keep reading it and such. Anyway, that being said, number 5 for best of the year for me is The Walking Dead, because holy shit, I mean, they Kirkman and company threw just about everything they possibly could at for this year. I mean, we got the the full all out war saga, which saw Rick take on Negan for the for dominance of the DC area, and it's like, and also the and the follow-up volume from there. So which I can't remember the name of it. Oh, A New Beginning. And it's like, and it showed what happens in the fallout of that. I mean, it's a gigantic turning point for the series, and also the follow-up volume for that also showed that, hey, like, even though it's like we have to we're dialing back the action. It's not the whole epic all-out war with this giant give and take between the two forces. New Beginning also showed us that hey, like, we are working on rebuilding this. This is a series about rebuilding the world, rebuilding civilization itself, and also showed us a lot of cool new things, such as the creepy Whispered, the humans who were apparently living among zombies. It's like in order to survive, and also a great inversion of the standard zombie movie trope of people winding up in a it's like in an idyllic environment and then realizing that, hey, something's wrong here. We got to figure out what it is. Only the thing is, though, that idyllic environment is the environment that Rick and his friends built. So we know that this environment, this whole place is on the up and up. But all these other people who they've just recruited into it, they've got real valid reasons for doubting all that, and that's great. I mean, just the fact that he's able. The series has been great at inverting and reflecting zombie tropes over the years, and it just really nailed it, like, in this year. I mean, yeah, it's like, I mean, it's like, listen, The Walking Dead. I mean, yeah, zombies are a part of the series, no doubt. But at the same time, though, it's like it's a series about rebuilding civilization, and like, and also just completely subverting your expectations for the genre. It's fantastic. It's like, and I love how Kirkman has like pulled it off with the 3 volumes he delivered this year. So yeah, kudos to Kirkman, Adlard, and new inker Stefano Gaudiano. Okay, next up is something way at the other end of the spectrum, and that would be Shuzo Oshimi's The Flowers of Evil. This is a series that it started out, not not really impressing me that much, but I stuck with it because hey, I'm not going to. It series has to be really truly awful to get me to stop reading, and as things went on, it's like I just grew more and more immersed in this story about youthful lust and indiscretions. It's like as its characters developed over the course of its run. It's like by the time the final volume rolled around, I was just completely just like chomping at the bit to find out what was going to happen. Just, were we going to get a happy ending? Probably not. But even then, hey, my expectations lived to be subverted, and also the ending also does the final chapter did a great job of making me think about, hey, what if this was the case over the course of the series? So when I had to go and reread it for the podcast, it was fascinating to reread it with the knowledge of what happens at the end, just coloring my perceptions with over the course of its run. So, like I said, if you read it yourself, if you don't think it starts off great, I can tell you, keep with it. It's fantastic. And it's a great, and even though it's got lots and lots of teenage angst, it's probably got some of the most compelling angst I've seen. It's in comics over the course of many years. Anyway, moving further away from that is my number 3 pick, Granville. It's a series that I've been following for a couple of years now, as writer-artist Brian Talbot has been giving us the adventures of Detective Inspector Archie LeBrock. It's in this anthropomorphic world where animals animals walk and talk like humans, and humans are a marginalized race. It's that we're only thought to have come up in the last couple decades. It's Talbot has done a great job of developing of building this world, and also with this most recent volume, Noel does a great job. Also, take us further into its world, detailing its cosmology, its thoughts on evolution. It's and the religion that defines it. All while telling us a great a great story about the destructive power of religious cults. And what happens when one animal gets its own Jesus complex. It's incredibly well illustrated. But as things go on, the series has just gotten better and better as new volumes have come out. Talbot has said recently that the forthcoming 5th volume, there will be a 5th one, may be the last one in the series, and that any he does after that would have to be done in a different style. But this 5th one going to be the longest, and also probably the one where everything starts to go wrong for Detective Inspector LeBrock, which that's, on one hand, it makes me a little nervous, but at the same time, everything he's done with the series so far has basically given me the confidence to believe that it's going to be thoroughly worth reading once it comes out in 2017, according to his estimates. That's a long wait. But hey, speaking of long waits, nothing right now seems like a longer wait than wondering what's going to happen to the fate of Vinland Saga. Because my number 2 pick is the best manga I read this year. It's a story of Vikings in the era, it's early 11th or 12th century. One character, Thorfinn, who wants to murder the leader of the Vikings. He serves with Askeladd for how Askeladd played a role in his father's death, and but that would have been a compelling story as it is, but mangaka Makoto Yukimura does a really starts broadening the scope with volume 3 and showing us how it's like how the Danish prince Canute also suddenly realizes what the world means to him. It's like how he wants to change the world and take it away from his father, while also completely changing the focus of the series and giving us some incredible action sequences as well as Askeladd's plans suddenly start unraveling among him. Volumes 3 and 4 were some of the most compelling reading experiences I've had over the past year. When I got my hands on these things, I just could not put them down. The stories of the main characters' plans against the against the Danish King Sweyn on the Danish throne. It's like we're just really just so compelling. It's like and well drawn that I couldn't that they just grabbed me. It's like and I just devoured what Yukimura had to say. And it was like I would have loved to have seen him continue these stories of political maneuvering, but even then he decided, okay, I've got something else to tell you about Thorfinn and his life and how after the climactic events of Volume 4, he winds up being sold into slavery at the end of it, and follow his existence through Volume 5 as he yes, it's I'm a man of peace, I'm done killing. That's his story now. But Yukimura has the skills in order to make sure that this story, that kind of narrative, has real weight and dramatic heft to it. Problem is, Kodansha Comics, Kodansha's U.S. branch has basically announced that publication of Vinland Saga has been temporarily suspended. And while I was prepared to congratulate them for getting out 10 volumes worth of the manga in their 5 2-in-1 editions over the course of a year, this is just thoroughly disappointing. I mean, come on, man, this is fantastic stuff. I mean, I recommend this to anyone who likes great comics. I mean, if you're one of those people who just don't like manga, then hey, I'd say this is the series that you need to read because it just does not follow. It is not standard Shonen Jump bullshit that and I like Shonen Jump bullshit, but it's I'm always going to be about the mature seinen stuff that digs deeper and doesn't hew towards mainstream conventions. Now they say that they're working towards finding a new way to release a series, in the new that there's going to be news about it, but all I can say is that hey, as I said in my blog post about hey, get out your wallets. It's time to say Vinland Saga. It's you need to start buying this because that's the fact that the series if we want the series to continue, then we're going to need to vote with our wallets here. And if Kodansha does find a way to do this, to put out new volumes of Vinland Saga, hey, I wouldn't mind paying extra for a nice single hardcover volume like Yen Press does with the excellent A Bride Story, another series that I wouldn't mind. I'd probably just keep putting on these best of lists. But hey, if they can do it, I love them because hey, this, like I said, I have issues with this with how Dark Horse handles their manga releases, especially with Eden, which had another great volume this year, but also risks ending its U.S. Publication on a cliffhanger. But hey, like I said, you got to buy this stuff, or else we're not going to get it. And so hey, you're either part of the solution by buying it, or part of the problem by not buying it. That's all I got to say on that. But enough about all this stuff about stuff that might come out this year. My pick for best of the year for the series was a series that collected all 41 issues of its initial run in one volume, and give us a great, massively compelling it's like gripping, imaginative, unconventional crime saga. That was David Lapham's Stray Bullets, Uber Alles edition. It's a story of lots of it's a story that takes place over about a decade, well over a decade or so. Like in the starts in the late 70s, continues on to the early early 80s, and it's still going on. Thanks to the miniseries that Lapham is running through Image now. But the Uber Alles edition is a great tapestry of crime and character that gripped me from the beginning, and even though it's like the volume is like this gigantic brick, it's like it did not feel like a chore at all to read through these interconnected stories. And even though I've heard for years about how Lapham was this great talent, he didn't see it. He did some decent enough superhero stories and some really awful shit with Garth Ennis's Crossed. But Stray Bullets shows you why the guy is regarded as a great talent in the comics industry. I really can't recommend this enough. It's a fantastic read. It's that great intricate storytelling that got my attention and didn't let go over the course of the year. So there you go. That's my top 10 list right here. Other honorable mentions include Rick Remender and Matteo Scalera's Black Science, which seemed like it may have been like the same kind of miserableism that Remender traffics in for his usual creator-owned titles, but then had a great twist at the end that made me go, hey, this might be kind of makes me look forward to seeing what's going to happen next. Ed Brubaker and Steve Epting's Velvet was a great spy story and a welcome return to form for the writer after several years of generally disappointing Marvel stuff. And Fatale, which was good but not the greatness I tend to expect from his creator-owned work. Hinterkind by Ian Edgington and Francisco Trifogli. It's a story about creatures of myth like trolls, fairies, and centaurs and whatnot, coming out from to reclaim Earth in this post-cataclysmic disaster from the humans. Even though it sells fuck all from Vertigo, they're at least giving it 3 volumes worth of content in order to tell the story. And I would have loved to have seen them get more, because it's a really clever and interesting story that's well told by Edgington and Trifogli. Satoshi Kon's Opus was the great anime director's last work, a major work before he went on to directing anime films full time. And it was a great metafiction story about this manga creator who gets sucked into his own work after his protagonist steals his final page. And I thought it was great, but at the same time though, it doesn't have a proper ending, even though it has closure. So it's kind of hard for me to say, yeah, this is great. It doesn't have an ending, but it's still great. So it's like I said, the closure it offers is kind of cool, but at the same time though, it's the fact that it doesn't end it's an issue. Miracle Man, the fact that this series actually came back in print, is worthy enough for is reason for celebration enough, and the fact that it actually held up pretty well, even though I'd say that book 1, the introduction, holds up a bit better than book 2. There's that to consider as well. I may get around to reviewing book 2 at some point. I've had it on my two review part of my desk for a while, but one of these days. So, but chances are, once book 3, Olympus comes out, that may be worth more talk about. Also, when the Neil Gaiman stuff resumes, comes back into print as well. Also, Manifest Destiny was another great Image title, which shows you the true story of Lewis and Clark's expedition into the into the Western undiscovered western regions of the United States and finding all sorts of creepy shit there. It's like I thought it was a great adventure. It's like even though it's like there were some issues with race and women, it's like that kind of held it back at the end. And also as far as like good superhero stories that that I really enjoyed, Daredevil by Mark Waid and Chris Samney was consistently great read throughout the year. And it's also want to bring up because I just got 2 more volumes of it today because of how Marvel releases their hardcovers into soft covers, and then the new series is just like direct to soft cover and all. Anyway, but hey, what about the worst of the year? Oh yeah, there was some real awful shit this year. I mean, Terraformars. I mean, that series at least the first one was at least decently so bad that it was hilarious, and it got me to watch the anime with my buddy Steve, and we had tons of fun ripping the series apart, including I think one episode that actually had the title "I shit you not, Too Sad to Die." Oh god, it was the anime is like it's kind of the action terrible action drama that Michael Bay wishes he could direct, but the thing is, like the first volume was at least terrible enough to be hilarious. Subsequent volumes are just improved enough just to be boring, and also I just gave up after watching the anime with Steve was just more entertaining than reading the manga itself. Then also terrible manga includes the Shinji Ikari Raising Project, which good God, I mean it's like that's my guiltiest. I used to say it's my guiltiest comic book reading pleasure, but I don't even know why I keep continuing to give money for this, considering that it's not only gone into more volumes than the Evangelion manga proper. It's also one of the longest running Dark Horse manga series in the modern age. Especially, and it's also disappointing in the sense that people, including me, God damn it, are pay for this, but they won't pay for great stuff like Eden. It's an Endless World. It's like the only reason this series gets any readers at all is because of the Evangelion license. And if it wasn't for Carl Horn's great localization work on the script, then it wouldn't be worth the paper it's printed on. Also, this is the year that Dark Horse lost the rights to Star Wars, and they celebrated this by putting out one of their worst, and that would be the Star Wars, which had some really uneven art as it adapted the like Lucas's first draft screenplay for Star Wars. As it turns out, that there's a reason it was just first draft, because it was terrible. And say what you want about the quality of the script and writing for the movie we got, it's a hell of a lot better than this pile of crap right here. And I just feel even worse for shelling out for the hardcover edition, which includes the 8-issue series plus the issue 0 bit of supplemental material, because I figured, hey, this series is it's probably going to be going right out of print once the license goes over to Marvel. So hey, maybe this will be worth something. I still feel bad for thinking like that. I'm just so glad I didn't pay for the super deluxe $150 edition they put out as well. Good Lord. But as far as worst thing I read this year, most disappointing, that would be Cataclysm, The Ultimate's Last Stand. This was really a very bad year for Brian Michael Bendis, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of writing and his projects and all. Well, he did turn in some good work on on his X-Men projects. Ultimate Spider-Man suffered through one of its most uneven years. It's like in recent memory. I mean, it's still worth reading, but at the same time, though, it's like Bendis has shown a willingness to put Miles Morales through benchmarks for Spider-Man, as opposed to telling just proper stories with the character and about the character himself. So it's kind of disappointing that he's resorted to that, but not really disappointed the fact that he wrote a miniseries where Galactus was stopped by a gigantic Kitty Pryde punching him into a black hole. Yeah, that was a thing that happened, and Cataclysm was basically the best argument yet for shutting down the Ultimate Marvel imprint. And while they decided to, hey, we're going to get one more go after this event, only Ultimate Spider-Man turned out to be even halfway decent in terms of reading. I didn't even want to bother with Joshua Fialkov's Ultimate FF, and the all new Ultimates was just blah, and just like not nearly as imaginative as its writer Michael Fife had. I had been led to expect from his acclaimed work from the indie series Copra. So the fact that the Ultimate Universe seems to be being put to bed with the forthcoming Secret Wars crossover, I can only hope that's true because Miles Morales, hey, you've got a lot to look forward to in the proper Marvel Universe proper because you're a great character. It's like, and hopefully you'll get some stories that are worthy of you. It's like in the next year, and there's lots to look forward to in the next year as well. And we've got, like I said, got the wrap up to Hickman's like Avengers saga. We've got it's like, and we also got his return to it's like to his focus on his image titles full time, like Manhattan Projects, East of West, and his new series, like The Dead and the Dying, described as Indiana Jones for old people. But we've also got other events, like say the end of the proper Evangelion manga. It's like the final volumes of Claymore and Blade of the Immortal, which I cannot wait until March, and that's gonna. Oh man, I've been following that for 19 years, almost 19 years, and that's not 19 years, probably about 15 or 14. But just find out the end of that. I mean, God, man, I can't wait. It's like, and all sorts of other stuff. And there's plenty of events that are going to be coming up that I'm looking forward to as well. And there's always going to be some stuff that takes you by surprise, and you say, hey, what do we got next? Oh yeah, hey, we also got the final Usagi Yojimbo story, Senso, but maybe not the final Usagi Yojimbo story. We'll see. Just stuff like that. Hey, I'm probably going to remember to talk about as soon as I'm done with this podcast. So, John, any thoughts on your end about all this?
Well, you got a pretty good list there, so everyone go support your local title by Vinland Saga.
Yes! Get down. Buy it! Buy it now!
Do you know what you're going to be talking about next week?
Next week is next time is actually not going to be about a series that wrapped up recently. That's going to be about Jeff Lemire's like Sweet Tooth, which I finally got around to finishing like about a couple months back. And hey, it's like, I'll just say this: I liked it a lot more than his work on Animal Man.
All right. Well, we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, laters.
All right, bye.